Welcome to the Google Cloud Update. I am your host, and we have an absolute powerhouse of an episode for you today. This week, we are diving deep into a series of crucial hardware and software security bulletins, looking at massive upgrades to BigQuery and Looker Studio, covering the branding shifts and feature rollouts for the Gemini Enterprise Agent Platform and managed service for Apache Airflow, and highlighting a wide range of database, networking, and customer experience improvements. Let's get right into the details. First up, let's talk about security. It has been a busy period for hardware and system-level vulnerability patches. Let's break down the major advisories you need to be aware of. Google has released several hardware-level advisories for ARM, AMD, and Intel processors. For our ARM workloads, an architectural issue has been identified that could allow privilege escalation. While Google has secured the core infrastructure against VM-to-VM attacks, if you are running instances using Neoverse V1, V2, or N1 cores, specifically on machine types like C4A, T2A, and A4X, you will need to apply guest operating system level patches as they become available. For AMD users, several firmware and hardware vulnerabilities affecting Zen 2, Zen 3, Zen 4, and Zen 5 processors have been mitigated. This includes potential cache corruption in Zen 2 processors and issues with the AMD secure processor on confidential VMs. Fortunately, Google has already deployed mitigations across the fleet, so no customer action is required there. However, if you are using Zen 5 Turin processors and write custom assembly code, keep in mind that the 16 and 32-bit versions of the RDSEE instruction can silently fail under high load. Stick to the safe 64-bit version of the instruction, which is what the Linux kernel uses by default. On the software side, a high-severity privilege escalation vulnerability in AppArmor, popularly called CrackArmor, could allow unprivileged users to bypass container isolation. If you use container-optimized OS, Google strongly recommends upgrading your nodes to the latest safe images on milestone 125. Yes, container isolation escapes are always a headache, so please prioritize those upgrades. We also saw critical patches for the well-known OpenSSH race condition, where you are advised to update your guest operating systems and TPU base images or mitigate the risk entirely by disabling the default allow SSH firewall rule in your project. Lastly, older security vulnerabilities like the famous Log4j exploit for Migrate for Compute Engine and secure boot bypasses in UEFI firmware have seen continuous maintenance and patching to ensure your workloads remain fully protected. Next, let's look at the huge array of features hitting BigQuery, Looker Studio, and the wider analytics ecosystem. First, Gemini Cloud Assist is now in preview for BigQuery. This represents a massive shift in how you manage your data warehouse. You can now use Gemini Cloud Assist to monitor performance, analyze capacity, optimize costs, analyze data lineage, and even schedule queries using natural language. It is incredibly powerful for teams looking to streamline their daily operations. We also see the return of AI key drivers function in BigQuery. This preview feature allows you to identify data segments that cause statistically significant changes to a summable metric, making it a fantastic addition for business analysts. Additionally, BigQuery continuous queries now support continuous aggregation with array aggregation and string aggregation in preview. In terms of general availability updates, the Google-developed open-source JDBC driver for BigQuery is officially GA, making it easier than ever to connect your Java applications. For cost governance, you can now configure daily token quotas to manage and limit the costs of your generative AI queries. And on the security side, IAM deny policies and custom constraints for Analytics Hub sharing resources are also generally available. Moving over to business intelligence, Looker Studio Pro has released a host of enterprise-grade security and compliance features. You can now utilize customer-managed encryption keys, store your files in your own customer-managed storage buckets and BigQuery datasets, and enforce strict data residency constraints. Oh, and a quick naming update. Dataplex has been renamed to Knowledge Catalog. As part of this transition, the AlloyDB admin and database user roles have been updated with permissions to access Knowledge Catalog locations and operations. Now let's talk about application integration and orchestration. First, Cloud Composer is continuing its evolution to become managed service for Apache Airflow. As part of this transition, Google is phasing out some API dependencies that aren't required by managed Airflow Gen 3. If you want to spin up new Gen 2 environments in a new project, you will need to manually enable APIs like Artifact Registry, Cloud Build, Container, and PubSub. Existing environments are completely unaffected, but if you have automation scripts, make sure to update them to prevent failures. In other integration news, AppHub support for memory store is now generally available, giving you a structured way to register and manage your application topologies. Also, the migration path from PubSub Lite to Managed Service for Apache Kafka has been updated, offering a revised guide utilizing Kafka Connect and the latest client libraries. If you are building data integration pipelines, Cloud Data Fusion has rolled out a major patch. This update addresses critical security vulnerabilities, improves the latency of the pipeline's listing page, and introduces a deploy strategy query parameter to allow you to skip redeploying pipelines if the configurations haven't changed. For developers, Cloud Workstations has optimized its configuration creation page in the Google Cloud Console. Common machine settings are now grouped into selectable machine presets, frequently used settings are consolidated, and a pending cluster with default settings is automatically provisioned if none exists, making onboarding incredibly smooth. Let's move on to databases and storage, where we have some great efficiency updates. For MySQL administrators, the Cloud SQL for MySQL Managed Buffer Pool is now generally available. If you've ever dealt with dreaded out-of-memory crashes, you'll love this. The Managed Buffer Pool dynamically reduces your InnoDB buffer pool size when memory usage is high, keeping your database online and preventing sudden crashes. In storage, Google Cloud NetApp Volumes has promoted its backup capabilities for on-tap mode to general availability. Even more exciting, the NetApp Volumes Remote Model Context Protocol Server is GA. This allows AI applications and large language models to directly interact with your NetApp Volumes storage pools, volumes, snapshots, and backup policies using natural language. It is a fantastic integration for teams building AI-enabled storage management pipelines. Now, let's dive into security operations, governance, and identity. Chronicle, now known as Google SecOps, has launched asynchronous search APIs in general availability. This is a huge deal for analysts working with massive security datasets. You can now execute long-running, non-blocking queries, retrieve up to 1 million results from unified data model events, and easily paginate through them without blocking your client applications. Additionally, UDM fields now show enrichment icons with a U for unenriched and an E for enriched data, making context tracking much clearer. On the policy front, the policy simulator for deny policies is officially GA, allowing you to dry run changes before committing them. VPC Service Controls has also achieved general availability for Firebase phone number verification. Over in governance, Sensitive Data Protection has rolled out a new info type detector for signatures, object types, and persons, now available globally and across regional endpoints. Also, custom organization policies are now GA for cloud domains, and assured workloads compliance summaries have reached general availability. Finally, let's look at customer experience, core infrastructure, and AI. A massive naming update. Vertex AI is now officially called the Gemini Enterprise Agent Platform. Along with this rebranding, several roles have been updated with new permissions to inspect and manage analyze sessions, helping you monitor agent quality and detect anomalies at scale. Within the Gemini Enterprise web app, users can now share their custom-built agents with Google Identity Groups. Also, the Asana data store is now in public preview, allowing you to connect to Asana and perform tasks like searching projects or creating tasks using natural language. Plus, a quick reminder, Gemini 3.5 Flash is now enabled by default for all Gemini Enterprise web app users, and the feature management toggle head has been removed. For contact centers, Agent Assist now offers Proactive Generative Knowledge Assist v2 in GA, providing richer search context and suggested queries. Google Cloud Contact Center as a Service, or CCAAS, has rolled out its latest stable version addressing several interface and transfer bugs, alongside a pre-release look at advanced reporting dashboards that will support child queue filtering, real-time agent metrics, and direct links to CSAT scores in your CRM. To support your underlying compute environments, Cloud Service Mesh is offering a new in-cluster version supporting Istio features. However, for those running Kubernetes, be aware that the option to not enroll your cluster in a release channel, known as No Channel, is officially deprecated. It will be removed in June 2027, so we recommend enrolling your GKE clusters in a release channel before then. And to round things out, Cloud Network Insights is now generally available. This tool monitors multi-cloud and hybrid network performance and allows you to deploy Compute Engine VM monitoring points via Terraform or run connectivity tests directly from the console. For those on VMware Engine, the VE2 node type has also expanded to the Mexico City region. And that is a wrap for this week's Google Cloud Update. From critical hardware security patches and GKE deprecations to Gemini Cloud Assist and BigQuery and the renaming of Vertex AI to the Gemini Enterprise Agent Platform, there is a massive wave of innovation hitting your console. Don't forget to update those container-optimized OS nodes. Thanks for tuning in. Subscribe to stay updated, and we'll see you next week for another episode.